Anyway, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy Jonald, and oh, it's a Wednesday. It's time for one off. Hold on a moment. If you're watching this video, press like, please. If you really don't like it afterwards, you can unlike it. But it's really important and helpful to me that if you see this video, that you just hit that like button. Really helps out against the YouTube algorithm. You can do your part to just boost my channel a bit. So anyway, back to the vid. So it's actually Wednesday. I just startled a cat. Yeah, I'm recording this a little bit past midnight. Anyway, but yeah, so this is a quick one. It's a short one, but I enjoyed it. It reminds me, I'll explain more the real life scenario that kind of brought this one to mind. But this is mostly canon. I don't know if all the mechanics would work in the way I've been setting up the universe so far, but that's fine. Anyway, let's get into the one-off.
Cassiana by Jonathan Howe. Read to you by Jonathan Howe. Helena stalked onto the scene. As with all monster attacks, it was a gruesome sight. Appendages littered the street, blood splattered the walls, and there's a joyful woman in the center of it all, Helena thought. An older woman, probably in her late 60s or early 70s, stood next to the other officers with a broad smile across her face. "Sergeant Helena," the officer called, "you're here." "Yeah, no shit," Helena snapped. The man wilted. The woman next to him laughed. "That's funny," she remarked. "Are you always this funny?" Helena scowled. "Only when I'm surrounded by idiots." The woman laughed again. Helena's scowl deepened. What is her problem, she thought. "Anyways," the officer interjected sheepishly, "Cassiana is here to help deal with the monster. Reports call it a level 7. "That's high," Helena remarked. "What will this dummy do?" The officer shrugged. "She has a perfect monster hunting track record. Look at her file." Helena did no such thing. If Cassiana had been sent by the higher-ups, Helena would work with her. The investigation of the scene did not take Helena long before she knew to head north. Bystander reports and blood were a telltale sign. As they walked through the dank streets, Cassiana blathered aimlessly. "Oh look, a pigeon," she commented. "Did you know that pigeons can form attachments? I think I had a pet pigeon once." "You think?" Helena said. "It's been many years," Cassiana explained. "The details of life are fuzzy." After pigeons, it was newspapers, and then after them it was cars. Cassiana always had something positive to say about everything she saw. Helena had never wanted to kill herself more. "Someone's smoking," Cassiana commented. "I never did like it, but it reminds me of George's best friend. He was a nice fellow, aside from the smoking." "Who's George?" Helena asked. When Cassiana didn't respond immediately, Helena turned around, thinking she'd lost the woman. Cassiana walked a pace behind, still there. Her face seemed frozen. After a moment of walking, her smile returned and she threw Helena a puzzled look. I'm sorry, what was your question?" Helena opened her mouth to speak, but her voice trailed off as her nose picked up the scent of blood. "Let's move," she hissed, getting low and zipping to the corner. Cassiana giggled as she followed. "Are we playing spy games?" she asked in a hushed voice. "Unless you want to be monster food," Helena said through gritted teeth. Cassiana laughed. "Are you always this funny?" she asked. Helena stopped. "What?" she said. "Are you always this funny?" Cassiana asked again. Helena met the woman's eyes. Cassiana looked confused. "Is something the matter?" Helena stared for a moment before shaking her head and turning back to the corner. She rounded the building, her nose assaulted by the smell of fresh blood. In the street, a man's body was torn up. Helena scanned the road in search of a monster, but the trail led away. She ran to the scene. Another man sat in a crumpled heap, viscera sticking all over his body. "What happened?" Helena barked. The man startled, screaming a little. He stammered. The thing came out of nowhere. It ripped Jerry to shreds." "What was Jerry doing at the time?" Helena asked. Other than swearing up a storm," the man looked uneasy. He had something to say, but not to an officer. "I won't write you up for any kind of substance abuse or criminal activity. I'm on the Monster Deterrence Force." Jerry was high on moat. Of course he was, Helena grumbled. Monsters were drawn to people using the drug. It was a feast of negative emotions waiting to happen. No matter their cause for turning, monsters always came after moat heads. Was there anything else about Jerry that could draw a monster to kill him? Helena pressed. Did he commit any unique crimes? Had any weird habits? The man seemed to think for a moment before shaking his head. Aside from the moat, Jerry was a pretty upstanding guy. Is Jerry your friend? Cassiana asked suddenly. Helena and the man looked to her, Helena unable to hide her horror at the question. The man looked down sullenly. He was, he said quietly. Cassiana frowned a little. Why not anymore? Cassiana! Helena snapped. Surprisingly, the man chuckled. It was a sad chuckle that broke into a choked sob. You know, he said, Jerry's been a little all over recently. He chuckled again at his own joke. I'm sorry to hear that, Cassiana said. I hope your friendship mends soon. Helena stood for a minute in confusion. Cassiana didn't seem to understand what she'd just done, and the man was too busy laughing and crying at the same time. What is wrong with her? Helena thought. She took a deep breath, steadying herself, then spoke again. Did you see which way the monster went? She asked quietly. The man gestured down the street. Let's go, Helena told Cassiana. She stewed more than usual as she stalked down the road. What kind of buffoon did the higher-up stick me with? She thought angrily. Cassiana followed a pace behind, chattering aimlessly again. I mean, what could this imbecile really do to help me? Oh, look, a pigeon, Cassiana said excitedly. Did you know that pigeons can form attachments? Yeah, Helena said, thoroughly confused. You just told me. You had a pigeon once as well. Did I? Cassiana replied. I don't really remember. It's been so long. Helena furrowed her brows. Dots were starting to connect. Then a scream ripped through the air. Helena started. It was followed quickly by a roar that shook the ground. Helena tore after it. Up ahead, against a building, a monster pinned a woman to the ground. It had many sinuous tendrils that twitched in the air. They were a pink, fleshy color, much like a tongue. Just like the tongue it seems to be reaching for, Helena noted. The monster was stretching out towards the woman's mouth. Helena drew her sidearm and unloaded on the beast. Her Modian-tipped bullets would make quick work of the thing. Except for when they didn't. The monster recoiled away, but it didn't go down. Shit, Helena cursed. The thing stiffened, glaring her way. She pulled the trigger again and again, sending shot after shot into the thing. It lurched her way. Just fucking die, Helena spat. The monster roared in anger, leaping at her. Oh, right, she thought. It's a level 7. The highest tier of monster that could only be taken down by a specialized hunter. And my hunter is a complete idiot. The tongue beast slammed into Helena, tackling her to the ground. The pair rolled until the monster had her pinned down. Damn it, Helena swore. The creature roared louder. Oh shit, you don't like swearing, Helena realized. She squeezed her eyes closed as the monster screeched even louder. Great job, she thought to herself. Swear at the anti-swearing monster. Completely trapped, Helena resigned herself to her fate. She relaxed as the creature reached out its tendrils towards her mouth. It sucks, she thought, but I was bound to die someday. Despite her calm demeanor, Helena panicked. Part of her was not ready. Then the monster looked to the side. Helena, are you okay? Cassiana asked. Just peachy, she choked out. I'm surrounded by gumdrops and ice cream. Cassiana laughed, a full belly laugh. The monster stayed still, seemingly frozen in place. Are you always this funny? Cassiana asked. Just when I'm surrounded by idiots. Helena choked out again, her voice hoarse from the tendrils wrapped around her throat. Cassiana laughed. But I thought you said you were surrounded by gumdrops and ice cream. Helena laughed. It was somewhere between a laugh and a sob, but she couldn't help it. The response was so incredibly stupid. It was funny. Suddenly, the tendrils around her loosened. She laughed harder as she freed up. In moments, the anti-swearing monster dissolved away, the blackness that it had once been blowing away in the wind. All the while, Helena laughed. Cassiana, Helena asked as they walked back to the precinct, "Why are you so happy all of the time?" The older woman shrugged. "I have no reason not to be." "That's it?" Helena pressed in disbelief. There was a moment of silence. Much like earlier in the day, Cassiana just stopped speaking. "Never mind. It's more complicated than that," Cassiana interrupted. Her smile was smaller, and her eyes were sad. "I don't remember anything." Helena raised an eyebrow. "So you're happy because you don't remember anything?" "I only remember two things," Cassiana said, her smile wavering. "The first is that George, my husband, is dead." Helena stopped. The words came so casually that she hadn't expected their weight. "He and all of our children died in the same car accident that injured me." I'm sorry," Helena mumbled. "The second thing I remember," Cassiana continued, "is George telling me that he loves me. I think he said it so much that no accident could erase the memory." Helena felt herself go a bit numb. Cassiana smiled brightly again. "When you can't remember anything but how loved you are, it's pretty easy to be happy all the time." Helena had to hold in her sobs as she started walking again. Behind her, Cassiana called out, "Oh look, a pigeon!"
And we're back. Yeah, so... Oof. The reason I thought of this one is, like 2 weeks ago at work, I met a person who just could not remember anything. And it was, at first I didn't understand. And then by the time I could understand, it was just heartbreaking to interact with this person. And I imagined, what if there was someone who was super happy all the time because they really couldn't remember anything, like the person I interacted with. And on the planet Corst, that would just be devastating to how I've determined the magic system and the monsters would work. So that's what I wrote. It's rough, but that's fine. I'm not, again, we've talked about this. Anyways, yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I hope it kind of just rocked you in the gut a little bit as well. And I will see you guys again next week. I'm gonna try being a lot lighter than I've been. The last few, this one and the last one were just a little bit heavier. I'm gonna try being lighter next week. Anyway, okay, bye.